the United States of America has fewer than 1 million abortions per year. On a good year, 800,000. You can look up the statistics for yourself. Does that sound like a lot of abortions? Does that sound like if you fully liberated, shows a liberalized the abortion laws in the United States of America, that just couldn't possibly go up anymore, that everyone in America has as many abortions as they could possibly need? Have you ever Googled how many abortions there are per year in India? Do you think India is a highly liberal, highly sexually permissive society for Hindus, for Buddhists, or for Muslims? There are more Muslims in India than there are people of any kind in the United States of America. All of a sudden, 1 million abortions per year in America seems like nothing at all. India, you're closer to 16 million abortions per year. And you may think, well, India has a much larger population than the United States of America. It does, but it's not 16 times the size of the population of the United States of America. Proportionally, Americans could be having as many abortions as people in India have. You could be having far, far more. The same way that Americans have more gastric bypass surgery, more fake breast implants, more butt enlargements, more nose rhinoplasty, more facial plastic surgery. Americans have more of all kinds of medical procedures per capita than people in India, but not abortions. Have you ever once in your life looked at how many abortions per person per year people had in former Soviet states in Eastern Europe under communism? Have you ever looked up China? Have you ever looked up different countries in Western Europe? Have you ever taken a comparative perspective to this? People act like there's nothing to be debated here, okay? People act like there's no point to having a Congress or a Senate or a parliament debate what kind of society you want to have. I'm not some idiot who thinks you can have a society with zero abortions. No, I don't think that's possible, and I don't think that's desirable. I think there's a difference between having a society with 1 million abortions a year and 10 million abortions a year. And I think there are a whole lot of important questions to be asked there. And I would prefer that they be asked and answered democratically. I think there are a whole lot of questions to be asked there that nobody in the United States of America is asking today. Nobody. Take a look at the inane pronouncements coming from Barack Obama. Former President of the United States, Barack Obama himself, is telling you to go out on the sidewalk and stand there with a sign or a t-shirt with a slogan on it. Why? Why? To influence the Supreme Court. Of all the branches of the government of the United States of America, which ones are supposed to make their decisions based on the mood and tendency of the mob, the braying crowd out in the south? None. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you know anything about the writing of the Constitution of the United States of America? Do you think Congress, do you think the Senate is supposed to give a fuck about what you're chanting on the sidewalk? But of all the branches of government that are supposed to be immune to pressure from protesters, that are supposed to be completely indifferent and unmoved by the chanting of protesters on the sidewalk, from the lowliest court making a decision about unpaid taxes to the medium-sized courts that are making a decision about a murder case, up to the Supreme Court, the whole court system is supposed to be immune to public pressure. It's supposed to be completely indifferent to what the President of the United States wants, to what the Democrat Party wants, to what the Republican Party wants, to what any and all politicians want. That even if every single senator in the United States of America stood up and said they want the Supreme Court to do this for this reason, that the Supreme Court would say, we don't care. all we're going to do is interpret the laws and the Constitution as they already exist. We're going to completely ignore all pressure, all suasion from the president, from the Senate, from the Congress, and yes, certainly from people like you standing there holding signs, chanting on the street. And you know what? If you didn't have that principle enshrined in law, enshrined in constitutional tradition, then murder trials would become a fucking popularity contest. Well, some people want this guy to be convicted for murder, but there are a lot of people protesting on the street saying he's innocent. Oh, and the Democrats, they have 5 people in the House saying that the judge should, decide that he's not guilty of murder, whereas the Republicans say he is guilty of murder. That's not the way the court system is supposed to work. And of all people, Barack Obama should be aware of that. The reality is, in the 21st century, Americans are ashamed of their legal system, but they don't want to admit it to themselves. They don't want to lift a finger to change it. Americans are ashamed of their Constitution. On some level, they know this debate about Roe v. Wade, this debate about Griswold v. Connecticut is a fiction based on a fiction based on a fiction. That there's even one word in your Constitution about abortion. That there's even one word in your Constitution about the right to privacy. That there was a court precedent that construed through abstract reasoning that, there's an implicit, unstated, unwritten right to privacy embodied in the penumbra emanated by the Constitution as a whole, and therefore it would be unreasonable for the government to intrude on the privacy of a married couple, the implied privacy. Nothing about marriage in the Constitution, nothing about sexual privacy, nothing about, the public interest of starting or stopping at the 12th week of pregnancy. There's nothing about this. A fiction based on a fiction based on a fiction. A misinterpretation based on a misinterpretation. Willful ignorance and self-delusion fastened on top of yet more willful ignorance and self-delusion. Why? So that nobody has to fucking admit to themselves that the Constitution is bad and evil and wrong and should be rewritten, or you should tear it up and start with a new sheet of paper and just write whatever the fuck it is you want the law to be. That you should all just stop pretending you can misinterpret the Constitution as if it limits, for example, your right to bear arms, your right to carry guns, as if it sets up the kind of, gun control regime that many countries in Western Europe have and take for granted, but that the authors of the American Constitution never once considered a possibility. As if implicitly you can construe the notion of privacy as being an unwritten principle and then use that to make an excuse for why the government shouldn't take away people's contraceptives from their bedrooms. Because, I'm paraphrasing the court decision on that one, on the Griswold case, because, it would just be unthinkable for police to kick down your bedroom door and search through the drawers, of a married couple and then arrest them for having contraceptives there. Unlike cocaine. Because we just can't possibly make cocaine illegal as long as it's within this penumbra, this zone of privacy that a married couple enjoys where the government has no right to tread. As long as they're doing cocaine in their bedroom as a married couple, you shouldn't kick down the door and look through or is it because it's a private matter? Again, there's no right to privacy in the Constitution. There's not one word about this. It's a private matter between a woman and her doctor. How about female circumcision? How about Muslims who want to circumcise newborn girls, cutting off parts of the vagina, crippling them for life? That's real private. That's squarely within that zone of privacy, isn't it? A married couple meeting with their doctor to have a obviously sexual surgical procedure. So the government should fear to tread there? You think there's a limit on what Congress or the Senate can do in legislating morality for private matters, private decisions made between a husband and wife? Do you want 500 years from now, in the future, in the far future, 500 years from now, do you want people to still be cocaine addicts? Do you want Muslims to still be eviscerating the vaginas of their daughters and sexually crippling them for the rest of their lives? Do you want newborn boys to be circumcised 500 years from now in the future? Do you want the darkness of the dark ages to go on forever, unquestioned and unchallenged? And why? Because of this concept of a zone of privacy within the marital bedroom, based on a misinterpretation of a misinterpretation, a fiction foisted on top of a fiction onto this ancient document that was bad and evil and wrong to begin with. Americans are ashamed of their legal system. Americans live in constant fear of their legal system. If there's one thing every American knows, it's that whatever disputes you have with people in life, you've got to settle it outside of court, because only the richest and the most privileged and the most connected can use the court system. Only people like Donald Trump can benefit from the court system. That normal people like you and I can just never have the courts work in our favor. And throughout America, there are people who don't get married because they don't want to ever have to deal with divorce. There are people who never write a will. There are people who never pay their taxes. There are people who live their whole lives terrified out around the edges of this court system that can bankrupt you even when you're innocent. This court system that just creates an army of barristers and an aristocracy of lawyers and judges who live as parasites forever, earning their money through the interpretation and reinterpretation of what would be an embarrassment to the most mediocre of minds if it were written out frankly in plain English. The Constitution of the United States of America does not give you the right to abortion. It does not give you the right to privacy. It certainly does not give New York State or California State the right to take guns away from you, to have any of the regulations. Totally unconstitutional, totally immoral regulations that are currently in place and have been in place for decades in both New York and California. And if you don't like it, change the law.